you mentioned theory, and the song that the solo we're focusing on today from Stay a Little Longer is, and I'm not a huge theory guy myself. I just, I took lessons when I was a kid, but never went to music school or any of that. So I've got some holes in my theory knowledge. But this solo that we're going to focus on does one of the things that I love the most, and it's so like country rock and roll, where you're kind of bouncing between minor and major pentatonic.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is that something you think about while you're doing it, or is that something you just kind of intuitively do?
Well, I mean, I guess I intuitively do that now, but I mean, you know how, like, whether you know theory or not, I don't know how to read music. I know how to read bass clef. I was a bass major in college, but I don't know how to read treble clef, which is like, what the guitar is. So I failed miserably at guitar in college. But I do, it's such an amazing, yeah, I didn't do very well.
That's funny.
But I could play bass. I don't know, whatever. But anyway, my brain confuses me, to be honest with you. And it's an amazingly expressive instrument. I was having a conversation last night with some friends, and it was like they were saying, like, I don't read music, but I do this, or I don't even know what chords I'm playing, but I do this. And then you could have like Andre Segovia play, and then you could have Steve Vai play, and then you could have Kurt Cobain play. I mean, they're all playing the same 6 instruments, but they're just approaching it it's such an expressive instrument. It's why I love guitar so much. But for that song in particular, I remember the moment, I mean, I was in my teens when you have the pentatonic scale. It was always the blues pentatonic, right? You don't start major. No one does that. That's weird. But it's just, and you're like, man, that's so cool. I remember the day I found out that if you go 3 frets back, that's major. I was like, what? I don't even have to think that hard about it. That's awesome. And so I do incorporate a lot of that in the playing on that song in particular. It's in F sharp, but we tune down to G. So we play, I mean, there's no way in hell I'm playing that solo in F sharp. I've tried, and it's not easy. I went through a bit of a bluegrass stint as well. I wouldn't call myself a bluegrass player by any stretch. That is a level of musicianship that is uncanny, but
and completely unforgiving too with tonally.
Oh my god! Oh, it's like an endurance competition. It's all like right hand strength. I don't know.
Trying to play bluegrass made me realize how much I rely on bending a note and holding it to think about where I'm going to go next.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it gives you a second to think. You're like, where can I go now? Whereas bluegrass, it's like, do not think. It's all just like, it's like everyone is, it's like the Usain Bolt of musicianship. It's just like, it just doesn't lit up. But we're all just like an amalgam of our heroes and our predecessors and what we learned growing up. And you kind of throw it into a big pot of stew and you stir it up, and that's just who you are, and we all have similar accents as musicians, but we all sound like ourselves at the end of the day. And that solo in particular, when we were in the studio recording, there are 2 versions of the song. The first version was self-produced. The label was like, it's not good enough. And I mean, frankly, they were right. But when we got in to record it with Jay Joyce, the solo had been sussed out. And typically I like to, solos for me have to be purposeful, if that makes sense. I mean, I love to wank as much as the next guitar player, but it has to be purposeful. And it just kind of like the beginning of the solo, that kind of thing. I was like, it kind of like opens major and kind of has that thing. Again, major. It's just...
Well, yeah, I love how this solo, it's got themes and patterns that repeat, and it sounds totally unhinged at the same time. It's like sort of bounces between the 2 of them.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. So it was, I wrote it or arranged it, for lack of a better word, and I wanted it to be singable, because if I'm going to do like a long outro solo, especially for one of our first singles, I don't want it to be just, this guy kind of showing the world what he could do. I want it to appeal to the masses. I mean, you look at solos like Freebird is a great example. I mean, that solo is amazing, but everyone that even doesn't play guitar, they know it. you know,
Sure.
or Hotel California. Like everyone, you don't have to play guitar, but you know the solo.
Yeah.
And I wanted it to, I'm not comparing it to that by any stretch, but I wanted it philosophically to align with solos like that. So where the masses could really enjoy it as well. So I wanted hooks, I wanted repetition, but at the same time, I didn't want it to feel super calculated.